Welcome back to another episode of the tutorial series for the Dyson Sphere program. Today we're gonna talk about anything related to power and research. Yes, we are. So let's start with the power supply. Every building you make, if it is a resource gatherer or anything else, everything requires power. You can power your base with these types of poles. These are power poles, or Tesla towers they called in the game. When you click on it, you can see what the power production is on this network, as well as its charge, discharge, what's consuming and what's being generated as well. In this case, I've made 2 solar panels. Those 2 solar panels will generate power that the Tesla tower can use to spread out over its radius that it's going to light up in blue here. When I click on it, you can see 100% satisfaction, which means there are no buildings using the power, and we can provide 100% of the power to whatever is connected. The power is not being stored at the moment. Later on in the game you can research the accumulators. These are basically batteries. Once connected, it will start charging up with all excess power being generated. So as soon as something is being used here, it provides to the machines first, and what's left will be put to the accumulators. When there is too low amount of power, it will start using the accumulators. As long as they don't have power, they will run out. When they are empty, they will stop and will be waiting until there is enough power to charge them again. When you click the accumulator, you can see the power going up, and when it's full, it will wait until it's needed. You can always see how much is totally charged in your network on the left bottom of the screen of the Tesla tower or any other electronic building. Solar panels, for example, show the same information, but they will also show how much sunlight there is, as well as how much is generating into the power system. The power load, however, keep in mind, is how much is being used, and if the power load is way too high, the solar panels cannot even start generating power. Keep in mind, connecting too much buildings at the same time in a network that doesn't have power yet or needs power, as soon as you request way more power than even can be possibly be generated, it will die out with overloaded, which means it will not charge in any way. It will not even provide power in any way because the circuit is breaking. In that case, you need to add more power sources in order to generate enough power to get it all going. We have power in different ways. So we have also wind turbines, which use wind. We have solar panels, which use the solar system. And later on you will learn to use the ray receiver, the mini fusion power station, and the energy exchanger as well. The Dyson sphere is a sphere that generates power in the end. This is my sphere at this moment, and you can see blue dots going into it. Anyways, the outside dots basically are solar panels that I'm shooting from another planet into the Dyson sphere area. With a ray receiver we can receive it. More on that one in a special episode for the Dyson sphere that we are going to talk about. Anyways, back to where we are now. Currently I made some windmills. Windmills are a solid generator that always generate power. Unless there is no wind on the planet, of course. The amount of wind on the planet will generate how much power it will provide. So in this case, our battery is now full. There is no power load because nothing is using the power at the moment. These wind turbines will make sure that there's always power coming out. With the exception of solar panels, because when it becomes night, which is on the bottom left timer that's counting down at the moment, currently there is a sun, which means summer zone, which basically means it's day. And when it's going to night, it will be dark and the solar panels will not provide power anymore. However, solar panels can provide more power than a wind turbine does continuously. The difference is per planet. Each planet has their own specifications. So some planets don't have a lot of power from the sun, but have a high wind speed. Some has only solar power and no wind. So then the wind turbines will never work. So there is a lot to do with power. There is also for the earlier game, you can research the so-called wireless power tower. Since your body needs to be charged, like I told you last time, you can also make a special power tower. This power tower can be recharged, and once recharged you can stand underneath it and it will charge up your robot. So this mecha suit will be charged when you're near this tower from the power grid itself. As you can see here, there is now a consumption. You see a yellow-orange bar. That means that I'm using a little bit of power from the network to charge up my robot. So this is all the power that we have. Having power is not the only thing that we need to do. In order to continue on in the game, we need research. Research in this game is based on materials, so in this case energy matrices. These cubes in different colors will provide us for research, which you can use to research different stuff. The current list of things you want to get research is in the left top of the screen, and on the right bottom you can see the same icon which is current research being done. Making research artifacts is using a research matrix lab. The matrix lab is made of different materials that's accessible in the early game. When you have it, you can build it. You can even put things on top of each other, and you can research to increase the limit of how much of these buildings you can put on top of each other. This counts for the research facilities and for the storage buildings. But let's go over the first one. In this case, if we want to produce something, we always start with the blue one. This is the first thing you can unlock to research with. Or if it's already unlocked, you can research it by putting in chips and the electronic, what was it called again? Magnetic coil. Once you click this one, it will turn it into a matrix lab that makes those blue spheres. So if I, for example, put some chips in manually and some coils in manually, it will only require power. So since it has no power yet, you can see the blue areas, I can put a Tesla coil or tower near it, and you can see that it starts producing the blue spheres, the blue energy matrix, science matrix, whatever you want to call it. These blue cubes are basically the ones you need to research with. So in this case, if I pick them out and return, we can make the other colors as well. First you have blue, then red, then yellow, purple, green, and eventually white. I do not have white unlocked yet in my game. Going to on this button over here will turn it into a research station where you need to put into the cubes, and these cubes will start research. The research that I'm currently doing requires more than just the blue one, so it will not research over here. However, with my other research centers, whenever all the colors are in that you need for the research that you're currently doing, it will start researching and use power to convert it into, and those matrix cubes, to convert it into the research you're doing. There's a current amount of hashes on research that it needs to put in. Taking a look at the research tab, which is under the button T on your keyboard or the button on the right bottom, you can see different things over here. You can click on any of the things you do not have researched yet and put them in a list, or start researching them if you are not researching anything at the moment. When you start researching, you can see here that it's very cheap. You have even some researches that uses only materials and no matrix cubes. Using inventory item on the left side will be automatically ticked. And you can see here what you can do and what you need yet. So if I have these cubes in my inventory, it starts using my inventory to do research instead of a research facility like here. So you do not need a matrix lab to do research. You can even use your own inventory to do the research. Simply enable the research tick on the left side if it's not enabled. And when you go outside, you can see that on the left side of my screen is a manual research tab now visible. This is the way to research before you get any matrices in any way. Before, you will see what you are needing for the research, and it will allow you to research that from your inventory instead of using a matrix lab. Over here on the front of my screen, you can see a research that's currently being done on my game. You will see what you require, 1600 of 4 colors matrix cubes, as well as what type of research it is. and what it does, as well as the hash rate, the time remaining and amount of hashes it done and needs to do. So if you take a look, the hash rate is something how fast it can research. It all depends on how much power it has and if it has the right cubes, the matrix cubes, to do the research. If any of them are missing, it will slow down the research eventually. The time remaining is based on how much hashes it do. Later on in the game, you can upgrade the speed of the research using the purple cubes. This will increase the lab research speeds with the hashes. So if you increase them, you can increase them with a certain amount, and then it will increase the speed significantly for the research that you are doing. Once something is researched, you get direct access. You can add things to the list. For example, if I click this one and click Continue, you can see here that it's now added to the list on the left top. Once it's done with the solar life, it will go on to the ray transmission efficiency. If I want to remove something, I simply right click it on the left top and it will remove it from the list. I can always pause the research by clicking the pause button. It will then stop researching, stop using power, and will spare up the items that you are sending to the research labs. When I click play again, it will start researching again. It's a lot to take in for just research, but research is the most advanced way of continuing in the game. In the end, you have a lot of items laying around. For example, you need to produce the blue ones and the red ones and the yellow one, and you need to do the research at all. And all these cubes are made in these things, or can be crafted from your own inventory if you want to do the research without factory. Keep in mind, using a matrix lab will be way faster than using your own inventory, because the space that I'm currently having in my inventory is not the default space you start with. I researched a lot of upgrades to increase my space. In this case, up here you find the mecha upgrades. These upgrades are all upgrades that are for your robot. So in this case, you can see here that I have more speed upgrades done. I generate more power and can store more power. This is the capacity of my robot. Fly speed, how much you can construct, as well as how much you generate, and the warp engine and such. Also, the radar that you have in your body to see ores and such around can also all be researched. So there are many things. Let's go over them one by one. The first one is the core energy, which basically says how much energy you have in your suit maximum. Then we have the universe exploration. This is basically a radar. The more you research, the more you can see in a different area. This is the mechanized frame, which basically increases the speed you walk. Then you have the inventory size. It will add more lines of inventory space in your body. Then you have the drone control, which increases the amount of drones that help you build stuff. The energy circuit, which basically increases the amount of fuel it can take from the fuel generator, basically faster burning of fuel sources into the suit. The drone engine will increase the speed of the construction drones fly. So basically how fast they are going towards the built object. And back to your body again. Then you have the drive engine, which basically unlocks the flying capabilities on the planet, making the possibility to fly in space, increases the speed that you can go in space, and eventually warping to other sections in the galaxy. The solar sail life is for later on in the game, when you are launching sails towards your Dyson sphere. This will increase the amount of time that they can stay alive before destroying themselves again. This one will increase the power that you receive without losing power along the way to your planet. That's also something later on in the game, which I will explain. The vertical construction is the one where you can stack up storage constructions and labs. The labs, like I showed before in this episode, you can stack research labs when you research this one. The sorter car stacking is something for the next episode, where I'm going to talk about conveyor belts and sorters. Anyways, these will allow the hands to collect more things at once. The logistics drones is also something for later on. You can make drones that fly around and bring things from one place to another without making belts like huge long belts. This will increase the speed. Then you have the capacity from the same logistic drones. This one is a very important one, I think, especially in the early game, because it will reduce the amount of ore is being used for the amount of product you get. So in this case, 6% lower amount of ore usage for the ores it produces. So yeah, it can maximize the amount you get. And the research speed will increase the speed of the research lab. Then we have the technology tab, which is the first left top. And here you have the other researches for normal technology. For example, the electromagnetism will unlock the solar panels, will unlock the wind turbines, the Tesla towers and the mining drills to automate your first process. Then you can research the blue cubes and keep researching the other stuff as well, like assemblers, smelters, in order to slowly start your empire on the planet. As you can see here, there is something coming soon, but I have no idea what, but I have the feeling it's something to speed up machines and other stuff around. But that's just an assume. But there is a lot to research. I will not go over all these ones, but you will soon find out when you're playing yourself. So in the end, we have learned a lot this episode. We learned how to move power from location to location using Tesla coils. We have learned how to place down power buildings to generate power and how to store and use power for later on. We also learned how to charge a robot and how to do research with the Matrix Labs. So thank you all for watching for this episode. In the next episode we are going to look at conveyor belts. How do they work? How do you put things in buildings? And how do we start mining those ore vines? See you all in the next one. Good luck!